Oakland has, certainly during the pandemic, crime, filth, blight, homelessness increased. But over the last 11 months, it's exploded. Restaurants are closing down constantly. Businesses are regularly robbed. Almost every night, somebody's running a truck through the front doors or pulling the gates down with a truck, and they loot the store effectively. Home prices are actually declining because people don't want to live there anymore.
Hello and welcome to Bay Area Innovators. I'm your host, Steve Ispas. Today we are joined by Chris Moore. Chris is a board member of the East Bay Rental Housing Association. He's also been leading the grassroots efforts of recalling Alameda County's District Attorney, Pamela Price. Today we'll talk to Chris about crime in Oakland. Chris, welcome to our program.
Thanks for inviting me.
Great to have you here.
Yes.
Well, I'd like to talk about Oakland. I know you've been very active in standing up for Oakland and for the safety of the city, right? Mm-hmm. Now, most of us who live outside Oakland, we know that Oakland always had some trouble with crime. However, in the last few months, it's just been surging out of control. Mm-hmm. Please tell us, what do you see on the streets?
Yeah, Oakland has, certainly during the pandemic, crime, filth, blight, homelessness increased, right? But over the last 11 months or during 2023, it's exploded. You see a number of issues where just violent crime with firearms, handguns is used in just about every crime out there, and you see a lot of it on TV. The homelessness problem where they started to clean it up a little bit, it seems to just have exploded again. And the blight comes with that. So and people are leaving. People are fed up. There's a lot of people leaving. It's one of the few markets in the Bay Area where home prices are actually declining because people don't want to live there anymore. And you're also unfortunately seeing a lot of businesses, small businesses, can't survive if they're being robbed, 3-4 times in a few months. So criminal behavior is out of control, and it's hurting the city across the board.
How do the residents feel about it, and the businesses?
You have a situation where businesses are regularly robbed, and it's not only the kind of the retail theft that you see where groups of people come in, but almost every night somebody's running a truck through the front doors or pulling the gates down with a truck or a forklift or a tractor, and then they come in and they loot the store effectively, right? And that is happening on a regular basis all over Oakland, all over the community. So of course businesses, a lot of these businesses are small businesses. How are they? They're undercapitalized. They can barely survive already because a lot of the residents have been chased out at the same time, or they're afraid. So yeah, you have small businesses are closing down. They're afraid to open. They're shortening their hours so they're not open when it's dark out. And then you have the residents as well are afraid to go out in public. In many cases, of course, they'll go out, when there's more people around. But as kind of you get to the later parts of the day or when there's not many people on the streets, they're afraid to go out. And so people are unhappy. They go and they shop in Walnut Creek and, a place where it's safer, maybe 30 minutes away, 30 minutes away. Or they're moving out to those areas. And you have long-term residents that, have grown up in Oakland and they're fed up. They're moving out of the community. And that's, of course, having an impact, again, on small businesses, on home prices, and it's not good, and ultimately less tax revenue for the city. And a lot of these policies and a lot of these problems were created by city council, the mayor, the district attorney. They've created these problems, and now they have a problem where tax revenues are significantly declining, which are going to make it even more difficult to help change and bring positive change for the community.
So you see a lot of businesses closing down, is a lot more than before. Are there businesses opening up?
Restaurants are closing down constantly because people are afraid to go to the restaurant. Their window is going to be smashed. So a $50 dinner turns into a $500 dinner. So that's why you're seeing numerous restaurants close down. Le Cheval, this long-term restaurant, closed down last year. There was a big business rally outside pleading with the mayor, pleading with the city council, Nikki Bass, the president of the council, to help those businesses. They didn't even show up, right? They are not interested in helping those small businesses. So yeah, they're closed. Both restaurants, small businesses. There's only so many times you can be robbed and try to survive. On top of that, insurance rates have quadrupled, right? So a business paying $5,000, $10,000 for insurance per year a year ago are now paying $20,000 to $40,000. They can't survive, and that's just one of the consequences of the bad policies that have been implemented across the community.
I would think it's not just the money that's being lost for a business, but it's the fear, the constant fear that you run into that someone is going to come in with a gun to your store, right?
Correct. There are people that are living in their stores. They sleep there at night. These small business, small immigrant community members are living in their stores to protect them so they're not looted overnight. And yeah, so they're in fear. Their employees are in fear. And they don't know when it's going to happen, but it does, and I know I was helping one shopping center, and everybody said they were robbed 3 times in the last year. Like there's probably 10, 15 stores there, and they're all being robbed. And they say, on top of this, their customers buy something and they walk out, and a gun's held to their head, right? And so they don't come back, right? So that is the problem. Yeah, it's frightening for businesses to provide business, and for even customers and employees to come to those businesses.
Please give us some examples. When we talked earlier, you mentioned about security guards, how they operate and how they supposedly to do their job in a store.
Yeah,
what happens?
There's lots of. I mean, you could see a couple of things. One thing is the proliferation of using weapons in crime. Criminal activity in Oakland has exploded. And this is a policy of the DA that's driven this, because using a firearm in a criminal act is no longer prosecuted. So there's a couple of things happened to a few different 7-Elevens recently in Oakland. So one, a truck pulled up to bring new inventory to the 7-Eleven. Here you see 6 guys, and this is on film. They even had a security guard that monitors and is there to help the truck. 6 guys came up pointing weapons at the security guard's head, and so they had him lay down, and then they just looted the truck. They took all the cigarette inventory and all of that out. Fortunately, nobody was hurt in that, but a lot of merchandise was stolen. Another 7-Eleven, just this last weekend, there was an individual stealing in the middle of the day, and unfortunately, there was a security guard there, tried to stop him, and the individual stealing the items pulled out a gun, shot the security guard in the chest, and killed him. And he was loved by the community, the security guard. He was there for long term, and those type of things are happening. There was another case about 6-8 months ago where there was a guy breaking windows, stealing on Grand Avenue, a major thoroughfare in Oakland. He was breaking windows, stealing things in the car. The car owner came up, and this guy pulled out a gun and shot the guy and killed him, right? So now it's gotten to the point where there's all this looting and criminal activity going on, and people are afraid to stop it in any way, because use of a firearm is not any more criminal activity than just breaking that window, right? And so everybody's carrying guns, and they of course use them. So that's why you also see there was another in the Rockridge area of Oakland. 2 guys came, and they were trying to steal a purse from a woman, and they were dragging her down the street trying to get her purse. People are afraid to help her, because they know if they try to help, these guys might pull out a weapon and shoot them for no reason. And that's kind of what's going on in the community.
Unfortunately, many times people don't help anyway. They're afraid to help. And in this case, it makes it even more difficult for someone to stand up to.
Definitely, yeah, and it's hard. It's hard on the community because people are, people naturally want to help and they try to help, and the criminals know that they can scare those people by pulling out a weapon, and sometimes they end up shooting. In fact, right now, if you commit a crime, let's say you go up and you say, "Give me your wallet," right? Or you go up and you shoot your weapon. You don't hit the person. You shoot them, and the bullet goes by their head. It's the same exact crime as just saying, "Give me your wallet," right? So, I mean, but our district attorney, Pamela Price, will not charge what's called a gun enhancement or for use of the gun, as long as you don't murder them or shoot them. If the bullet just goes by them, it's the same crime as just asking, or saying, "Give me your wallet," or something like that. So that's why you see this proliferation of weapons used. I think in armed robbery, it's up 50% this year in Oakland due to the policies of both the city council as well as District Attorney Pamela Price.
We'll move on to why this happens in the city. But before that, I want to ask you one more thing. There's two schools of thought. There's people who say that, big cities all have problems, right? Like Oakland, San Francisco, even San Jose, they all have problems. Let's move out. Let's move out in the countryside. There's other people say if you live the big city, you're the ones who can make a difference to stop it, right? If you all move out, then it's going to collapse, and then the bad elements will move after you to the smaller communities, right?
Right.
So with that in mind, why is this happening in the big cities and specifically in Oakland?
I think a lot of why it's happening. You have kind of during the pandemic and some of the big cities who have kept some of these policies. You had this movement towards social justice and well-intentioned, right? As too many people are being put in jail and that is, you had a lot of these policies moving in that direction, but they didn't think about the unintended consequences of when you're too soft on crime and you let too many criminals out on the streets, that you then have some are going to come back and continue. In fact, that it's more than 40-50% that people come back and commit more crime. And so you have people that the unintended consequences is that crime starts to escalate. And there's a certain group of individuals that just continue to commit crimes, right? And so that ends up, chasing people out of the community and into the suburbs. And so, yes, you had this in the big cities, and those cities where you had extremely soft on crime district attorneys, you saw it to continue. San Francisco, Chesa Boudin, you see it in Cascon in LA, and you see it with Krasny in Philadelphia. And in New York, those cities still have significant growing crime problem post-pandemic, because you still have these policies that sounded good during after George Floyd and during the pandemic, but they have those communities that are continuing those policies today are seeing the negative impacts of lots of crime, people moving away, decreasing revenues to the city, and the cities are finding themselves in a position where they cannot survive. They're running out of money to support the services and the needs of the community.
I've seen a CNN report saying that the district attorney, Pamela Price, is saying that the narrative that crime is increasing is fake, is not true. How do the numbers compare to that?
Yeah, so she actually, she's saying that, she also says quoted that she is not responsible for, the DA's office is not responsible for the increase in crime. What Pamela Price has is a couple of policies. There's two things she's done. She has policy directives and diversion programs that she's increased. So policy directives, she has directed her staff to not charge enhancements. So it's an effort to keep less people in jail, right? Or keep the jail rates down. And so for example, with armed robbery or using a weapon in a crime, her DAs and her staff are not allowed to charge that crime. There's multiple cases where she's not allowing them to charge what's called enhancements. And so all crimes basically, if it's driving to have many more people out on the streets if you can't charge enhancements for using weapons or being violent. And also to the diversion part, so you have something called collaborative courts. And the collaborative courts were for first-time offenders, low violent or no violent and non-violent offenders. And the courts would work with them and say, we're going to put you in a diversion program. So if you take these classes, you can take, and if you go to all the classes, you can wipe your record clean. That this first-time incident's not going to go on your record. But she has applied that now to more violent crimes. And so if you beat the crap out of somebody, put them in a hospital, put them in a coma, she might give them diversion. And so that is not going to go on their record. And even though they have many priors and many incidents, she will allow them to go to diversion programs, and that basically creates and puts a lot more criminals on the street. And in fact, if you look at the number of people that are in prison in Oakland, in Alameda County, that number has dropped below the levels that we had when we were during the pandemic. So during the pandemic, when they let a lot of people out because of COVID, and now our levels are even lower than that under the kind of this reign of Pamela Price.
So from the community, what sense do you get from the members of the community as far as being soft on crime? Do they agree with it, or do they wish the police and the DA were tougher on crime? If you take like a survey of the people that...
Yeah, so I've done a lot of work in the grassroots community collecting signatures across all of Alameda County for the recall of Pam Price. And you are at a point where they are fed up, particularly in Oakland, California. They are now, the crime, they see their friends, they know everybody who's either had a window smashed or their catalytic converter stolen or been shot at, or so yes, the community is fed up with the rate of crime. And so they started out, they understood, and they heard the message when Pam Price was running of, hey, I'm going to be more for social justice activities. We put too many people in crime. They didn't realize she would take it to the extent she's taken it, where she's putting very few people in particularly for violent offenders. She's not putting those people in jail. She's putting them back out on the street. And they, of course, are committing lots of crimes. And it's also been a draw for criminals outside of Alameda County to come in because they know they can get away with it. And it's created these crime syndicates, basically, who are also coming to Alameda County to commit crimes because they know they won't be prosecuted in the community.
So are there people, community members, that agree with these policies? Are they a minority or a majority?
There's a minority, a very vocal group. You hear about this, the very vocal minority group of people that are still professing for these policies. You see them when we're out gathering signatures. They are out saying, give Pam Price a chance. She's been there 11 months, and you can see crime rates have just gone like this. Auto theft up 46% in Oakland. It's up 64% in Berkeley. So it's not only Oakland, it's multiple cities that we've seen this crime increase. They ignore those numbers, or they must ignore those numbers, because there are a small group of very vocal people in Northern California and in Oakland, Berkeley area that still want to, believe that the trend of where Pamela Price is going is good for society. They're not looking at the numbers, and they don't understand maybe how this is impacting not only in the hills, which is one area, but it's really in the poorer communities in West and East Oakland that don't have a voice, and they are the ones being impacted the most in these communities. The businesses are certainly leaving there first. You're seeing a lot of criminal activity. The cars are stolen. 500 cars a month being stolen in those communities. They can't get to their work. They can't get to the grocery store. And for whatever reason, this kind of this smaller group that's very vocal, they don't see these unintended impacts on areas of the community, and it's typically impacting immigrants and Black and brown members of our community. Yep.
Let me follow up on that, and you may not have the answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Mm-hmm. I grew up in a communist country, and then the people there usually don't have a voice. The government has their own policies, and people just listen, even though the majority of the people think different than the policies, right? So if we have a small minority here, the voting, how is the voting in such that these policies go into effect? So
I think they're vocal, they're very vocal, and they talk about a lot of sound good policies, right? They mention a lot, hey, let's not put as many people in jail. And sure, nobody wants to put people in jail, right? Nobody wants to do that. But they're not doing that. There is a certain level
unless they're criminals.
Yes,
right?
Yeah. If they're violent criminals are doing, you unfortunately, that is one means, and that is the means our society has right now of controlling that issue. But you hear this group, the let's call them the social progressives, are very vocal in the community. They have the media behind them. They have newspapers like Oakland Side and Berkeley Side and the San Francisco Chronicle. They are all promoting these policies as sound good policies and ignoring the consequences, which are the crime rates are skyrocketing, and businesses are leaving, and it's all over. It is on social media, and you do see it, and you see it to some extent on some of the the major news stations now. They're reporting on the guard being shot and killed, and others being shot and murdered. But unfortunately, you still this kind of this vocal minority group of people, because they are vocal, and the people, they're not sure who to believe, right? And so we're getting to a point, and I think we are truly getting to a boiling point particularly in Oakland, California, and the Bay Area, Alameda County, that people are fed up and they're ready to listen to alternative and kind of more moderate, messaging, because they want to feel safe again. They want to be able to drive to their grocery store, or drive to their restaurant, or to a local business, and not be worried that their car is going to be broken into or they're going to be robbed walking there.
You mentioned a small minority who is very vocal in keeping and being soft on crime. My question is, do they worry themselves about being attacked or robbed, or how do they balance this ideology?
So I'm not in there. It puzzles me sometimes as to what they're really thinking. And yes, I do believe they are in higher number of the leadership. It's about a power grab, right? So they are the leaders of this are typically in higher income areas, and so I don't think they really understand the negative impact of the policies and the things they promote. Now, there are people in there that work with them and that they rally and they bring together that are probably living in these communities, and for whatever reason, they're believing this messaging that's being provided. But I can tell you, there are the people supporting Pam Price. There's an individual that funded her last campaign that lives in a 8,000 square foot house in a very safe part of the community, right? And so they are not impacted by the negative impacts by Pam Price policy. So they think they're helping the community, but they don't get down into the community. And I spent a lot of time in East and West Oakland. I provide housing in those communities. I'm there almost every day, and I see it and I hear it from my residents that I meet and talk with almost every day as well, and they're afraid to go out. And I think if unless you're there in the community in East Oakland and you see the businesses that are closing up and you see the crime and the blight on the streets, and you're living up if you're up and spending all your time in nicer neighborhoods that are more predominantly the wealth is there, you don't really see what's going on, and I think that's a big part of it. It's a big part of the problem.
Let's talk about solutions. You've been leading the grassroots efforts of recalling the district attorney for being soft on crime. Talk to us. What other solutions are in place, and what else are you doing personally?
Yeah, I think a lot of the problems we have, the escalating crime, the homelessness, the blight, that has all been driven by very soft on crime policies and a diversion of, at a city council level, they have diverted funds to other groups, other not-for-profit groups that, but the money is not getting out to the community and the people that need it. And so the city councils are diverting it to their friends in not-for-profits or other services that are going to help them remain in office. That's really what's happening. And this has been going on for a long, long time in Oakland and in the community. And it's finally gotten to the point where people are, as I mentioned before, fed up with all the blight and the homelessness and the crime, and they want to see alternatives. And so we have, an opportunity next November, 6 months, 8 months from now, actually a year from now, where in Oakland, California, there's 5 city council seats that are coming up, and there are a lot of people, a lot of moderates that want to fix the community and want to truly fix the community, and they know the people in power right now are not going to do that. We've seen it over the last 4 years. We've seen Pam Price, the district attorney, and so what we're doing, Pam Price is the start. So we are running a grassroots exercise to recall her. She's been in for 11 months. We can see the crime rates are going like this. The criminal population's going like this, going down. And so she needs to be recalled. And that'll be the start of the effort to fix Alameda County. And the next will be replacing the council seats in next November, because they have policies. They don't know what to do, right? They're not focused on solving crime and homelessness. They're dumping a lot of money there, but they're not focused on looking at all the problems that have been created. So next November is our opportunity to make a change.
I understand that you're running for office. You just decided recently, and you filed paperwork yesterday.
Correct.
Please tell us about that.
Yeah. So what happened a District 5 supervisor position came up just over the weekend, and we saw that that's an opportunity to help fix a community at the county level, and so this position is over Berkeley and Oakland and Emeryville and a little bit of Albany, and so I saw it as, I come in as, I'm not a politician. I'm actually a community volunteer, and I've built businesses. I've focused on housing and providing housing to the community, and there needs to be change. I'm not doing this as for political purposes. I'm doing it because I care about change in the community. And I've been in Alameda County for almost 40 years, and I think there needs to be change. And there's a number of long-term politicians that are running for the seat. We all applied basically yesterday, or all filed yesterday, and I think I'm the only non-politician in there, and I think I'll have the support of the community to bring some change and help to focus on the real problems: crime, blight, homelessness, and housing. Bringing that to the community. So that's why I'm running.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add about overall what happens?
Yeah, I think that that covers a lot. I think that the the key is really we have to solve the crime problem first and focus on the crime problem. And then once we have that, we can bring businesses back and bring people back. So it will help replenish the tax revenues of the community. So then we can focus on these other problems, the blight and the homelessness and those type of things, and focusing it in the right areas to truly make sure those dollars get down and fix those areas. Whereas now it goes to a lot of friends of city council and administration, which doesn't seem to really get down to the core problem and clean up the problem.
Chris, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me here today.